Hi everybody, this is Eugene O'Loughlin and welcome to my series of short how-to videos. In this video we're going to learn how to write a simple while statement in OR. So a while statement is one of the three basic iterative statements that we find in OR. We've looked already at other videos at the for statement, at the if statement, and now we want to take a look at the third, the while statement. As the name suggests, we want to be able to continue to do things, to execute code, while a certain condition is true. Now let's examine the logic of what we mean behind this. I'm going to take a look at my diagram. It's diagram number 48. This diagram, as well as all the OR code and sample files found in this series of videos, are available in my GitHub, a link to which you'll find in the information section beneath this video on the YouTube page. So let me open up this diagram. And I want you to focus first of all on the right hand side on the flowchart diagram that we have here. And we can see that we have code that we enter the while loop, and when we come into the while loop we want to test an expression. And while that expression is true, we're going to execute the body of the while statement, and we're going to keep doing that, going looping around and around and around until the test expression becomes false, and then we simply exit the loop and continue with our code or end our program. So for example, we might want to test a temperature level, and if it falls below or above a certain value, we might want to take remedial action such as warming something up or cooling it down. Or we might be testing to see if stock levels fall below a certain value, then we would execute some code to fix that. The syntax for it is here on the left hand side, so it's a very simple statement. We've got the word while, and the function has in brackets in here a test expression. So that's the equivalent of the test expression inside in my flowchart. So while that condition is true, we are going to execute a piece of code. So we're going to write a statement. We're going to use a print statement in our example here. So we're going to do something and keep doing that until the test expression is false. So my first a simple example, I'm going to do two quick examples here. My first example is just showing you, I want a display of a value of a counter while it is being executed in a while loop, and for it to exit when it reaches a certain value. So I'm going to create a variable called counter and assign it a value of 1. I'm going to start off with that, run that piece of code. We can see we have a counter with an initial value of 1. So I'm initializing my variable here. And in my while statement, let me write it out and put in my open and close brackets. I want to display the values of counter until it reaches a certain value. So let's say, for example, I'm going to test, keep doing this while counter is less than 6. So while counter has a value of 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, I want to do something. So I need my curly braces for this, press them in and press enter, and it gives me a blank line. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to display the value of counter for the first time. So just print counter. So what is the value of counter at the beginning of the while loop? And then secondly, I'm going to then increment the counter so as to, by adding 1 to it for each iteration of the while loop. So counter, assign it a value using the assignment operator of counter plus 1. So this should result in my while loop executing 5 times, because when counter reaches a value of 6, this statement is no longer true. The value of counter is not less than 6. Then we will exit the code here. So let's execute this line 6 to 9 and see how they work. So run that. And we can see in our output, our print statement is printing out the values 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now look at what's happening here to understand the logic. When we're executing the while statement, so while counter is less than 6, the first time this is executed, counter has a value of 1. In line 7, we print out that value of 1. We can see that in the output. Down here, I'm highlighting it now. And once that's printed, we then increment the counter by 1. So now, at the end of line 8, counter has a value of 2. It comes back, continues to go on the while statement. Counter with a value of 2 is still less than 6. It prints out that value, so we can see that in the second line of our output in the console, and it increments the counter once again. And it keeps doing that while counter has a value of 3, has a value of 4, and has a value of 5. So when we can see when it gets to a value of 5, I'm highlighting in the console in the bottom left hand side, when it gets to a value of 5, that's the result of the print statement on line 7. Counter has a value of 5, so that's printed out. Then counter is incremented once again, and now after line 8 is executed, counter will have a value of 6. So it keeps going around and checks the test expression again. Counter has a value of 6. that's no longer less than 6, so the highlighted statement in the while statement is no longer true, therefore our while statement is exited. Let's see, take another example to try and understand how this thing works. Let's say I want to ask a user for a number, and if it's not 99, I want to keep asking them for more numbers. So in other words, I want to keep asking the user to enter numbers until they enter the number, say 99, and only then will the while statement exit. So I want to create a new variable here called response. Let me fix the typo there. And I'm going to use I'm going to ask the user first of all using the as.integer function, and within that I'm going to use the readline function to prompt the user with a query asking the user to enter a number. So readline, the prompt equal to, and inverted commas, just something simple, enter a number. Okay, so that's going to ask the user to enter a number. Right, so this is an ordinary line of code. So let me execute this. This is going to ask the user to enter a number. So if I enter, say, 55, enter number, nothing happens in our code. We've just entered a number, and we continue on. We can see in our global environment that response has a value of 55. And you can see with the L after it that it's an integer. So what now? Now that I have a number in here, I'm going to write a while statement to keep asking the user to keep entering numbers until they enter a particular number. I'm going to use 99. So while, in this case here, response is my variable that I've stored the user's input. While the response is not equal to, exclamation mark, is not equal to 99. This is the number that will execute. Maybe that is our response with an S. While response is not 99, I want to keep doing something. So my curly braces again, enter in, I get my blank line. And in this statement here, all I'm going to do is put in my previous statement, just copy that and paste it into my code. And so let's go ahead and execute that. We can see in the console we can enter a number. So let's say enter the number 5, press enter. We can see it keeps asking me for a number. Enter number 4, enter number 56. Any number I enter here it's going to keep doing this until I enter 99. So now I'm going to enter 99 and press enter. And you can see that the while loop is exited, and we continue with the next piece of our code, whatever we are writing after this. So you might want to change the prompt to tell the user to enter a number and put in brackets and type 99 to exit or something like that to make it more meaningful. But this gives you an idea about how a while loop will continue to work until the test expression is false. So to remind ourselves what this looks like, we're going to keep, in this case here, we're going to keep prompting the user. There's only one line in the body of our code here, which is line 14. We're going to keep executing that until the test expression is false, and that happens then when we enter in 99 and we exit the loop. So what I would encourage you to do is experiment with this, perhaps in the while statement, maybe do some mathematical calculations and see how these things work to understand how while statement works. So that's how you write a simple while statement in R. I hope you found this video useful. Thank you for your attention.